Hello, everybody. Let's talk about Foxy today, right? Our favorite little meme coin, culture coin, whatever, backed up by three different companies. That's a big deal because, right, this is one of the main reasons why I got into Foxy to begin with, is it's one of the few memes that have some really valid support. There's other memes too, like Turbo as well. But most of them, we don't know who actually created the token and they don't really hold any real backing. Whereas Foxy has MetaMask, Linea, and Consensus. And anything that's good for any of those is good for Foxy. And I want to talk a little bit about some updates, I guess, with where I'm expecting Foxy price action to come from. And then we'll pull up the charts. I want to take a little look at, we'll call it price entry or DCA zones. If you guys have been watching my videos recently, I've been doing this with more and more crypto because I keep having people ask, is now a good time to get in? Is this a fair price? So I'll give you guys some expectations and my thoughts as to where are good prices from my opinion based off of where I think it's going to go. And that'll be in the second half. But let's jump in because there is some news coming out that I think is going to be pretty bullish for Foxy, and I want to share that with all of you guys. So about a week ago, Foxy had a nice jump, about 50%. And I believe it was two of you guys in the comments asked me, hey, do you know what this is? You know what this is about? And at the time I didn't. I responded to something generic about maybe it was a new listing or just the general market, right? Because as Bitcoin and more pressingly Ethereum, as that goes up, it's better news for altcoins. And well, it looks like there was actually something that happened, and it very likely was still partially the total market increase. But Foxy did get a new listing, a pretty big one. It wasn't the Binance one yet, but it's now on most large exchanges and now joined crypto.com. That's a pretty hefty one, right? A lot of people on crypto.com, they advertise pretty well. And you type in crypto onto Google or whatever search engine you want, that's one of the first ones that comes up. So that was pretty good news, and it's good to see that it drives price action a little bit. Again, the more eyes that can see a token, the more people that can buy it. That's why the exchanges, the large ones, matter so much. Next, so Linea. This is the layer 2 that is owned by the same companies, so all same little crypto company family as MetaMask and Foxy. They now have released their own DEX on their layer 2 system. The DEX is called Ethrex Finance, and I probably butchered that or I'll pronounce it differently every time, but it's their new DEX. And what they end up doing is they've now migrated all of the excess liquidity, we'll call it, from Foxy onto this DEX. So it boosted up the TVL of the DEX, and now it's inserted so it can be used for liquidity pools. So you can pair it with anything from USDT to other crypto that are on there. If you're familiar with liquidity pools, you understand. If you're not familiar with it, think about it like staking or collecting dividends, except it's a little bit more risky because you pair two crypto together. And if they both go in the same direction, for the most part, you can benefit from it. So that's big deals because now it can be more easily bought, sold, traded, and liquidity pooled. Awesome. It's just more money that can come and go from trading, which is always what we want to see, is more trading volume. They also heavily insinuated that if you're involved in any of the liquidity pools or just having more Foxy on chain on Linea's new DEX, you're more likely to get involved in the next airdrop. I did not see anything about the timing or a specific date for it. However, these airdrops are one of their biggest ways of marketing. And every time I've seen an airdrop before and I check, prices do go up short term at first. And then they usually come down depending on the macroeconomics of the entire market, either stays as a slightly higher low, higher high, or, I mean, if everything just eats shit, then so does it. But it's worth keeping an eye on. Specifically, if you want more free Foxy and you already own some, you can do the migration with it onto Linea. Food for thought. But with that being said, do you guys use Linea at all? Or would you use Linea now for doing things like liquidity pools of Foxy? I didn't see anything about staking. They don't usually stake memes, but I'd be very curious and interested if they do. Let me know your thoughts about this. Does this get you excited? Because I thought this was only great news because they're bringing everything more condensed into their own family, essentially. I thought it was wonderful. But Let's start looking at some of the price entry slash DCA points. Again, the real quick explanation of what I'm doing here is I'm not going detailed technical analysis. Right? I'm not looking for day trading volumes or looking for a 30% gainer here. I'm looking for where's a good spot to enter a crypto based off of the current macroeconomics and the patterns, or what's a good place to DCA to bring your average down so you can either make more money or get out of the market sooner. Either one's a plus. So let's go over that next. Okay, guys, so here we're looking at the 1 month chart to begin, and we're floating a little under half a penny, right? 0.0044. I'm sure it'll change a little bit as we speak. And again, the last month, when we go here, is probably close last week and a half. We did a little sideways action, and then we did go up quite well around the time of the crypto.com announcement. So we went up, hit a spot, came back down, and it appears we're consolidating somewhere in the mid 4-cent range. Again, crypto can always go down, guys. Always can. But this looks like a healthy consolidation because it went down, came up a little bit more, went down, but we keep getting, again, higher lows, what we're looking for. So if I was looking at entering into Foxy, or depending on your average, some good spots to jump in right here at the 0.004 cent. Not surprising, whole number. But if we look, it's right around, I went slightly, based on my opinion here, I can expand it a little bit. I thought it was going to go a little bit less than the last drop. Like I would look at probably right above the 0.004 or the upper part of 0.0039 or so. My thoughts on it, again, any of these you could miss completely. And if you're okay with that risk, that's perfectly fine. If we go a little bit under here, it's okay, but this is an important line to hold because everything shows once we go past here, we plummet pretty deep, and then we kind of have to start, not all over, but essentially drop a tenth of a penny. And again, if we look where there's a bunch of resistance and support lines, a little bit less, I'm okay with this. You look back a little further, we have a lot of fighting back and forth around this 0.003. So if you want to get an entry in, but you're thinking, you know what, if I miss it, I'm okay, or you think there's going to be a black swan event, or you think there's going to be a huge dip, this is not a bad place to put in the buy limit. Again, you might miss it, but I've got, if I put in a buy limit, I have no more with Foxy. I'm happy with the bags at the moment, but this is the one I would go for. But again, I'm okay if I miss it. And then if everything eats shit and we go back down to awful price ranges and people start talking about alt season not happening, it's happening, guys. You can look down here for essentially around a quarter of a penny. I'm not confident it's going to go down that far. That might be one of those, oh, sure, toss it in, see what happens. Let's expand this chart a little bit. You're going to see a little bit more of where these lines came from and my thoughts behind this. Let's go to the 6 month. All right. So the 6 month, we start to see where there was a little bit of higher price action, but more so you can see a little bit more on this line of the 0.3 of a cent, where, yeah, even a couple months ago, 5 months ago, it was a steady point of resistance, and then it became a line of support and support again. So I think this is a really strong zone. If we get back down there, there's a very good chance we'll hold that, mostly just due to the timing of the market. Let's expand a little further to the yearly. Okay, guys, now here's the yearly chart. Let's condense this a little bit more. Here we go. So this is the one that I mentioned. Hey, what do you know? That this is important for when we pass it to hold it. And the reason why I say this, other than we would dip back down and kind of stay around here on this line of support, is history shows us, as small as it is, that once we get a little bit past this 0.4.5 or so, our next line is up significantly at about 0.0065, right? I mean, we're looking at essentially a 40% jump up and a holding zone. So once we get really, right now we're at the 4.5 once we get to about half a penny, we're either going to likely come back down or blast up. And a lot of that's going to depend on, again, macroeconomics and any news coming from Linea, MetaMask, or Foxy themselves. And once we get up to about 0.8, this is where I put in saying it gets a little murky, meaning we're not in price discovery mode. We had stuff, but we didn't have too much stable for any real time. And so my interpretation here is I think once we get to about 0.8 to 0.85, other than coming up to that 1 cent mark, which is always going to be a mental blockage for people. There you go. Yeah, right here again, you can even see it a little bit. Not a perfect line by any means. But after that, it's full season to see where the hell this thing goes. And I would not be surprised that after we blast past the 0.8, 0.5, we get stuck a little bit around the 1 cent, but then something pushes up, and we're probably going to go to at least 2 cents, or call it 1.8 cents from there. And then we're totally in price discovery mode, which is going to be very interesting to see. And I expect this to happen. That part, I guess I don't have anything I can confidently say. But I would not be surprised if we end up over the half-cent mark line and floating around here in the next 2-3 weeks, just because there's a lot more news, a lot more things coming out for all of crypto. And hey, if we're real lucky, it's going to bypass this completely, because the new exchange listings, people are going to jump on and realize that there is a very undervalued meme play here called Foxy. So there you guys go. We'll round up. We got some news coming in from Foxy and Linea, more specifically, airdrops coming in, and this is all timing really well for the market. So if you're looking at DCAing into Foxy, do you already have a buy limit put in? Like, is there a certain range where you're looking for? Or are you just going to say, F it, I think it's going to go to the moon soon, so I'm grabbing more? Let me know what your strategy is or the thought process. I'd love to have a conversation with you down below. And if you've been here a little bit, please do think about subscribing or pressing the like button if you got anything useful from this, even entertaining. And regardless, thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you guys again soon. Peace.